We're celebrating a 1-year anniversary. It was actually April 8th, but we're playing a little bit. It was the first day of our weekly workshop last year. And so it's kind of a special moment. And so rather than have like a packed agenda with a topic and whatever, we just kind of thought, let's take a breather. And the last time we did this, we got some great value out of it. We did, I know for sure we did, and I think you guys did too. So I just kind of wanted to take a look back, take a breather for a minute, enjoy where we're at, and then kind of like talk about what the possibilities, talk about what could be. So welcome to this workshop, or this session. It's great to see you. I don't know about anybody else besides maybe me and Marlis, but Dubuque's career stuff, I should say stuff because they used to have the career days. Now it's kind of like a career month. Started, at least for me, yesterday. Marlis, I don't know how many kids you're mentoring, but I'm doing mock interviews with 9.
Wow.
I've done 3 already this week.
I have
tomorrow and then a couple at the end of the month.
Yeah, I have to do them every other day, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so that's fun. And so we're having a lot of fun with that. Every day a new school calls, partly because of the lieutenant colonel won't stop promoting us. And so that's fun. Today I had a long call with a school district up here in Truckee. And I pitched them on an idea and they're actually running with it. So now we're in trouble. So that is fun. And so I don't know, we've been doing so many workshops around topics. I just kind of wanted to take a breath and say thank you, and then just kind of have a conversation. Everything changed for us last year as we were going into our on-site workshops, and we were entirely locally based. So we had a full program and we started at 3 airports doing workshops. But even before then, before our first workshop last January, which was our 3rd year, Eric and I had already put together a game plan to convert to more of a national format. And we had received a nice contribution from an anonymous benefactor to design a database, a certification program, and take this to an online format. We weren't sure what like software we'd use, but as we were moving into it, March came and we were almost ready to launch that thing, and then COVID happened, and we were like, well, I guess we're gonna do it now, because we were gonna announce it publicly at the October NBAA convention in Orlando. And COVID happened. We're like, shoot, let's just go now. And so we kind of like just punted, as my mom would say. When you're in a situation, just punt and see what happens. So we did, and we scored, and it's been great ever since. And some of the things that we really put into play was that career ready portal, the database, and the certification. That really took things off. And then I think it was May, and we hosted our 3rd annual Aviation Career Week, and then that kind of put us in a new trajectory, because that welcomed candidates from 8 other states. So that was pretty cool. So it's just been like a great year of growth for us, and it seems like every time we have a new series of workshops, new visitors, new candidates, new mentors come and hang out with us, and they stay with us for a stretch, and they either move on or new ones come in, and it's kind of fun to watch how things and people grow. And we're at a point now where we're about to see some massive growth. Potentially, we're ready for it. And it's exciting. It's fun. And I think the best part are these workshops, because they let us kind of interact. I know I do a lot of the talking. Hopefully today you'll do more talking, but I'm really soaking in, where we've come so far. And I value each of you for coming in and sharing, because it helps us provide a greater service and be a better resource to our candidates and to our employers. So that part is cool. So thank you. So I want to hear more from you, and what I'd like to hear from you right this moment is kind of identifying some of what's kind of worked, maybe in general overall, but specifically for you. What's worked? I want to identify some of our best moments and our best services. So I'm gonna turn it to you guys.
I guess I
Well-
would.
Oh, go ahead. No.
Go ahead,
All right.
Casper.
I just got a quick one. I think all the small things that I've learned through these workshops, they add up tremendously. Like the last one that still is on my mind is the postcard. And I sent a few thank you cards to some people. And then they suddenly showed a lot more interest in helping me. I don't know if it was connected to that, but I have a suspicion that it was, because suddenly they were reaching out, like mentors of mine in the research community, and they're like, oh, did you get that internship? And really, they wouldn't have had to ask at all, they already helped me a bunch. And yeah, just all the small things with, Mr. Castaña's presentation last week was incredible, and I'm still digesting all that. And yeah, I think it's almost like you invest in yourself with all these conferences, at least for me as a young man and student, and hearing from all you mentors and people with experience in your respective fields. And then it pays off in the future in all your interactions and interview settings. And yeah, that's what I'm thankful for.
All right, cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I like the little things. They all add up, which is why we started this Career Minute thing that's on our Instagram, well, all of our channels now. Because you guys came and said, hey, is there a way to get some bite-sized chunks? And so that's great feedback, Casper. Thanks. And then we found you through the Circle of Change conference, which they're doing again this weekend. So my weekend is dedicated. They're doing a first generation conference. So 530 people are going. So, all right. Was that Martis that you had something else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I volunteer with Sierra Nevada Journeys also, and a week from Saturday, they've got a Girls in STEM, and they've invited women engineers. And I'm going to give my usual let's go fly pitch for aeronautical engineering.
Do that. That's awesome. I meet with Sean. Do you know Sean Hill?
Of course.
I meet with Sean next week. We're supposed to meet today, but he pushed it off because I'm looking at ways to get those kids, and when they exit out, because I've been bugging Eaton for years, why isn't there an alumni program? And we could take that alumni program and use those individuals and help give them a pathway from STEM to their careers.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, cool. Lots of ideas. Who else has feedback on anything that's worked? We'll get to the things that could work.
I just think it's cool how I agree with Casper, all the little things and tips and tricks that I've learned, but I just think it's really cool already, like being able to meet everybody. Of course, it's virtually, but already in the short few weeks that I've been coming to the calls, Ceci has already gotten me in contact with some Air Force people, and now I joined Civil Air Patrol, and it just so happens that Peter is in the same squadron, and so it's like small world. And I think it's really cool that we're all networking, and now out of nowhere I'm seeing these people everywhere. So I think it's cool, like it's a little family, and now they're showing up in my life.
Same squadron? Oh no. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw her hanging out on the on one of the virtual squadron meetings that we had, and I reached out to her on LinkedIn in real time, and I said, all right, so this might be a long shot. You might have somebody named exactly the same as you, but are you like hanging out, at a squadron meeting right now? So yeah, small world.
That's amazing. Jeez, high five right there. Bam. We preach networking all the time. And Catherine, like, I don't know how many times you have to share a story and it sings connections, right? Whether you're on a flight or you're at this, like it always seems to happen to you. And it's the idea and the value of networking goes so far. And like you might not see an immediate result, and it could be some time before something happens, but it always comes back, just like you meeting up directly with Peter, right? These things always happen to come around. It's
Yeah,
amazing. So
I agree with that. And it also kind of reminds me like to, as far as, you know, when we talked about the first impression and things like that, like you don't know when you're going to see these people again. They always come back around. So you better be looking your best.
yeah, and I just proved it today. I do my best to verbalize. I speak out loud a lot. I talk to myself, I guess, but I read all my emails aloud before I click send. I don't want any typos, but I also want to make a good first impression. And I sent this one email, gosh, maybe a month ago to somebody in Las Vegas because I want to create a thing in Las Vegas. They just got back to me today, apologizing for not getting back to me, but like they really enjoyed my email and all that. Hey, when can we meet to start something? I'm like, dang, first impressions also happen in emails. So just, yeah, little things. Dig it. Who else has more?
I'm really impressed with how everything is so personal. Pete, you do an amazing job, and having everybody here, mentors and students and people who are interested or think they might be interested, and it's personal. And I feel comfortable sharing or asking questions or giving suggestions because of that. And I don't get that from other organizations because they are limited to the people or the types of people or the types of fields or whatever they're in. But here we have such a great cross section of people. And I think you're going national has brought that to Pathways. So you can have a good cross section of people and making it personal. And Pete, you do such a good job of making me feel good and trying to get other people to feel good and to help them pursue their journey.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Ceci, really, it's because you're a Valley girl. You know, I grew up in the Valley, so we have a connection, we have a bond. But I feel like pursuing careers can be intimidating. And if you don't personalize it, if you don't make it, for another lack of a better word, intimate, I don't know if it has the same spark, the same appeal. And I mean, I look forward to these things every Wednesday. I don't know about you guys, but I totally get geeked up for this stuff. And I look forward to just connecting with you guys, but also sharing my feedback, my insight. And if you guys don't like it, then you chime in. You know, Joe and Marlis are great, and Michael are great at sharing additional advice. Ceci, you too, especially on the scholarships. So when we have great leaders who can share, and now most of the candidates, you guys are sharing better advice than we're providing, which makes it great, like a great nucleus of support. So we're all learning. So that I didn't expect that when we started these workshops. I just thought it would be Eric and I sharing, you know, the good word, but it's really just become like a network of family, just sharing. And then the ultimate goal is for all of us to have great aviation careers, whether they're paid or not paid, whether it's a new job or our existing job, you know, or it's a hobby. So good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, Pete, I was going to call out the eclectic nature, right, of the people that are here. It really has sort of broadened my horizons as far as the pool of understanding, right, that I've been able to draw from all of the people that are represented here, the varied backgrounds, the different interests, etc. That really has been a benefit to me. And again, just in broadening my perspectives, right, and seeing things from a different point of view, it's been great.
It's been great having you, buddy. Really, I consider you all friends, so it's kind of fun. Again, not something I expected when we started these workshops. And I feel like, well, I know for sure you have my back. I got yours. Like, if there's anything you need now or 20 years in the future, we're there for you. And I was having a long conversation today to somebody about passion, and it doesn't even seem like a job. It's just, it's enjoyment. You can't, can't find the right words to describe how amazing it is. And, you turn a career into it. So that's awesome. And we have new people here who are hopefully going to gain from that. Nick is one of them. I mean, I talked to his mom last week. She's like, how can you help my kid? I'm like, we got him. We got the kid. He's only 15, but we got him. We're going to hook him up. So shout out to your mom, Nick. So, all right. What could we work on? Or another way to look at it is, what are ways we can provide greater value?
One of the things that I've called out in the past, right, has been increasing the voices from industry, right? I mean, you've had a couple folks in as far as like the scholarships folks from Sun and Fun, et cetera. Having an opportunity to have someone on the call, right, from just a different area within the industry. Like, I know that we've got folks like Casper. Casper's interested in engineering, right? I know Catherine's interested in on the more piloting side of it. That's what I'm interested in as well. But just having outside voices kind of sprinkled in periodically for me would be great, because I'd love to dialogue with some of those folks.
That is great feedback. Not the feedback I was expecting from you, but that is great feedback, because I know you have more feedback. So perfect. I know Andrew has feedback. So hit me on the chin.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of my things is like, I can't say I'm only 15 anymore, but I'm only 18 and a half. So I don't know. I feel like, I guess one thing that I've kind of noticed is I've like gone through college and like I'm doing really, really well in my classes and stuff. And I've had like major classes, but like, I don't know. I guess I feel like I just need to like kind of like kickstart my passion again. Cause I started off college as a flight student, and before school started, I switched to just management just because a lot of things I was unsure about. And I guess, I don't know, my passion, I think I was like, I made the right choice at the time to like not go into flying, because that would have been a very big decision, especially money wise and also just time. But I feel like I just need to kind of like, I don't know, find more ways to get myself out there, like maybe have like someone to keep me accountable, if that's like, I don't know, like just a peer, like someone else that's also like a college student candidate or something. Because I feel like I'm just not like falling behind, but I feel like I'm watching a lot of people like do a lot of things, and I'm just kind of like sitting here like, yeah, I'm doing well in school, but that doesn't mean anything in 3 years once I'm done. Sorry, I don't know how to transform that into feedback, but I mean, everything that everyone else has said about like how the program has helped, I definitely agree with that. Like, I have notes that are like just exactly what I need to know, and that like I think have helped, and that'll definitely help me when I'm coming up to interviews, either for jobs, internships, or I mean, who knows, even maybe graduate school in like 5 or 6 years, who knows.
And Andrew, that's better feedback than you think. You're not alone in the wanting or needing like more, just a spark, right? Even I need it. I was complaining to Eric last week. I'm like, I need a spark, because I got to get my mojo, because I was moving all week, and it's just like, God, work, move. I need a spark. In addition to Peter's suggestion of more industry leaders, because I think that'll provide a spark to you and others. Maybe I'll look into ways where we can get fellow candidates, students, to share more about their journeys, and maybe that'll provide a spark to you. I was talking to a student yesterday about a local, and I don't know, Andrew, if you guys have it at Purdue, a local AAAE club on campus. And this kid was a vice president of the club. And I'm like, tell me about the club. What's the club all about? And he's like, well, COVID has restricted us from doing anything. And I'm like, bogus. You could totally take it to the moon. You just can't do it in person. We can make this happen. And it sparked him to go back and talk to his club about things that they can do, represent the industry. I share industry trends, bring in some statistics, some speakers, that sort of thing. But if we can find ways, Andrew, to help create a spark for you and others, I'm gonna be looking to you maybe for some more advice on that. Cool? All right.
Peter,
I'm
suggestion.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, just a thought, and I don't know where people stand on this, but I don't think we should overlook the opportunities that the military has to offer. It's not for everyone. For the younger folk, you kind of consider it, it's free training on that, whether it's building flight time or other areas. I have a young lady, she left CAP as a cadet lieutenant colonel, which means that she went through 99% of all of the CAP background. She is a crew chief on a B-1 bomber as a female, and she said you should see the looks that she gets from the men on the crew that she's the crew chief. She's working on her degree from Emory-Riddle. She wants to get her A&P certification, and she is now training to be a loadmaster on a C-130. And this is a kid that's not even a young woman who's not even 25 yet. So there's a lot there that the military has to offer if that's a choice, something to look into. If you're going to be a pilot, the military is going to keep you a little longer than they would anyone else, but that's the trade-off for the free education. So just throwing that out, maybe we should invite some of the military folk to talk about their offerings in terms of what Pathways has to offer.
Great feedback. I like it. Okay.
And Pete, that actually parallels what I was going to bring up as well. I was coming at it from the civilian side, but to what was just raised, right? Hearing from someone, male, female, I don't care, right? But someone who's in a career track, who is relatively young, perhaps in their career track, who maybe just got out of college, maybe just got out of flight school, right? They're a year or two in with a regional, and to talk about some of the challenges that they faced along the way. For heaven's sakes, they just came through COVID, right? Maybe they just got called back. They've been, on furlough for the last 6 months, 9 months, who knows, right? But just to talk about some of the challenges that they faced along the way and what they've done to work their way through, right, those challenges. What I keep hearing repeatedly from individuals who are in the industry right now, and Joe and others might be able to speak to this, right, is if you're in the industry for more than about 5 years, you're going to see some sort of negative event that occurs, whether it's furloughs or whether it's an economic downturn or whatever. It's a very cyclical industry, right? And when the highs are high, it's fantastic. When the lows are lows, it's like it's the worst place in the world. But if you love doing it, and Pete, you were talking about passion, right? If you love aviation, it's like it's never going to be a job, because the secret is you do it for free, right? But hearing that from someone who is relatively young in their career, just out of maybe some of the same areas in life where many of the folks around the call right now are, right? To be able to reach back and to speak to their younger self, what would you say to your 18-year-old self, right? If you could go back in time. That's the sort of thing that I'd like to hear from those folks. And I think, maybe like to Andrew's point, that might be something that, Andrew or someone like him would enjoy hearing.
And I'd like to do that, because that can go with almost anything. I would like to see us maybe every week or every month, maybe have someone, be it from our own group here or a special speaker, talk about their career or their field. And part of that, I come across all the time questions about how to choose a college. Kids in high school want to go, say, pursue a career in aviation, whatever field in aviation. How do they choose a college? What are the colleges? What do they look for? How do they prepare for that? And is it better to go to a community college first and then go to the bigger college? And that, if we could get somebody to maybe talk about that ties in right with what Peter is saying, because that's a challenge for high school kids when they're juniors. Just yesterday, I met with a neighbor's granddaughter who is a junior in high school, and she's already looking for a college to go to, and her field is art. Well, I don't know anything about art, but I know about some universities and the general things, and I was able to give her some ideas. Luckily, she's really was really smart and has thought through some of these, but I helped expand her horizons, which was, I felt really good about that. And explorers, aviation explorers, most of them are in high school, and their parents want them to go to a 4-year college like ERAU or North Dakota. And it's very, very expensive. And is that the best thing for them to do because it's status or because the school is rated very high? What kind of things do they consider? So that young group is really, they're vulnerable and they're open to suggestions. I think we can help them with their options, looking at those options that they have. And how do they address those challenges? Some schools have good counselors, some don't.
Right, yeah.
And where do they get advice or ideas?
I'll take that a little bit farther. In most cases, parents are the worst ones to recommend where their kids should go to school because they usually don't have an understanding of what their kids are really interested in and what the programs are like. That's what I encounter because I talk to kids, across the spectrum, age-wise, and I know when I was looking, I did all my own homework because nobody in my family could spell engineer or scientist or anything like that. They were business people. And most of these kids are coming from families who majority are business people rather than scientists, engineers, technical types, aviation oriented or anything like that. So that's why I do so much of my STEM outreach is because these kids don't have access. And when you talk to them, the kids are, they're on their toes. The parents are, in a lot of cases are there like week after, this coming week from Saturday, I'm going to encounter parents. Most of them these are things that they would never have considered. They're bringing their girls to the, STEM camp, but in working with Sierra Nevada Journeys, I find that most of the parents, I'm on the same level, vocabulary wise as the kids. Their parents are just looking at us. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
That's what I like about what I do is because I hit all age groups. And that's why I like programs like First Robotics, because it introduces the kids to responsibility as well as the educational benefits of pursuing things. And this is what we don't get enough of. And I can't get into the schools now to talk this kind of stuff. There are some teachers, not many principals who want to hear it, but there are some teachers who want people to talk to their kids. And how to expand that is a huge question. Because these kids are in a way in limbo, not knowing which way to punt.
Right.
Mhm.
Great feedback.
So the
Peter,
more
that also opens the door. Oh, I'm sorry, Rose.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I think we need to, be able to emphasize that more than we are currently doing. Is we need to, communicate and try to get like the middle school kids because they're the most impressionable at this time.
Sure.
So let me piggyback on what you just said. And I think that what you had to offer is great, especially the middle school kids. I'll just digress for a moment. In terms of Civil Air Patrol, that's my focus group, the middle school, the 6th, 7th, 8th graders. But we as an organization should also encourage all of our members, young and old, to join the various aviation related groups, if for no other reason to get their printed journals and have them read those journals. So AOPA, the EAA, the 99s, the AIAA, the IEEE. I mean, there's all kinds of organizations. For the younger folk, membership is free in many cases. So right away, they're going to find out scholarships that are available. They're going to find out trends that are happening in all aspects of aviation. What's new, what's out there, what about STEM? And organization. I'm going to promote CAP, which I try not to do because that's not why I'm here. But from the leadership aspect. But you could do that with any of the scouting programs, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. The Boy Scouts offer an explorer scouting program that's open to both men, young men and women. So you get this leadership, you get this infusion of aviation, you get this passion. I'm on my soapbox again, I'm sorry. And you get really good stuff going. We need to encourage them to join everything they can possibly join and read all of the stuff that's out there. It's marvelous, darling.
But even more important than that is most of these organizations have programs for the various age groups. For instance, Society of Women Engineers, AIAA, they have, because these kids aren't going to look at journals. That's way beyond, but they a lot of these organizations do have, because they know they need to, to attract the kids, the middle school and the high school kids. By high school, you're almost too late.
Yeah.
Because they have, some fairly they have some notion of where, which path they want to go down. So that's why I try to target, from a science, from a STEM point of view, the middle school kids, because their minds are just flitting all over the place. They have a taste of this, a taste of that, but they don't really sit long enough to have a meal and really appreciate the flavor that they've been exposed to. We need to get into more of that kind of stuff. We've got to target the middle school kids.
The career day, the aviation career day at Camarillo Airport, well, it's been about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were only for high school kids. And they realized exactly what you're saying, Marlis. The middle school kids is where we need to focus. So they opened up the career day to the middle schools. And they're wrapped and just so interested in all the aspects of what's out there, what they can do, and that it's really exciting for them. And you can really.
The parents don't know either, so it's good education for the parents.
Yes, yeah, it's educational for the parents. Yeah.
That's why I said it that way, because I have met a few.
I'm one of them. Perfect. But my kids are gone now, so they don't like
I
me
have no
anymore.
excuse anymore.
Yeah, geez. Cool. Well, have we missed anything that we could improve upon or we can add to the mix? I really love the idea of bringing in more people, because that's already part of our plan for the next wave of workshops. So we're going to tweak the agenda up a little bit so that we can focus on a guest speaker at each one.
Pete?
Yo.
Hey, I was just gonna say, us going forward, working together with Aviation Magazine and you and featuring, I think, a lot of these stories from your young members here, and everything everybody's saying about getting in the hands of, the middle schoolers all the way through high school. We all have the same mission there with the magazine and with Pathways, and look forward to, helping with getting the word out via the print and digital magazine, however we can. Look forward to partnering in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys don't remember, Jacob spoke with us, I think, at the Career Symposium. So Aviation and Pathways, we've got this thing going on. So you'll see more of Jacob, or at least his magazine. He was trying to convince me to go to Sun and Fun next week, which I would love to do. Yeah. And I saw an email today saying they're expecting record crowd. So we'll see if anything happens.
They'll have the need it.
Yeah, but his audience is the audience that we're talking about right now. And if we can be a fire, a spark, a stimulus into getting them to look at aviation as a possibility as a career path, or at least as a hobby, then we're on the right track. And so that's why we've really, Jacob and I have really talked about doing more things together to get the word out, spotlighting candidates, talking about employers who are looking at future hires, just all kinds of things, just to give it some oomph. So
and you're teaching it, and we can report about that, which is vitally important, and where a lot of people don't have the ability to do it, on the local level.
Yeah, no, and every one of our phone calls, we're sharing ideas, which it's a signature moment in that we're always looking for ways to inspire more people. So I love those phone calls. Got to do them in person.
You guys, you do really good work, so I would like to be part of it. So good job.
Oh, thank you. I want to hear from Quiet Joe, because he has sent me 4 emails today, and a couple of the emails talked about airlines who are starting to hire. If you got some insight on what's happening from the industry, Joe, share with us. Hit your mute button, bud.
Been mentioned already. Peter mentioned the airline industry is either feast or famine. And we've had the famine for a year, and now it's coming back. The feast is coming back. So I have a couple of friends who are flying for commuters, and it looks like the airlines are opening up almost, I should say most of them are going to start hiring right now. And he's put his applications in, which means as he moves out of the commuter airline seat, that's going to open up something for Peter and the other people to get jobs. And it's going to happen really fast because people are starting to fly again. Everybody's getting their COVID shots. I just checked because we were going to go on a cruise, and the cruise lines are all booked up to Alaska starting, I think, in July. They're for the rest of the year. There's no openings. So I think people are going to start traveling again. And the airline industry is going to again be short of pilots.
Like it just happens, right? Everybody's waiting and waiting and waiting, and then all of a sudden the floodgates are open. So that,
yeah, I would say the next 3 months, there's going to be a huge change of seats. People who were downgraded to a smaller airplane or a smaller company are going to go back to the bigger companies, leaving corporate jobs and airline jobs open.
And Joe, I don't know if that's just a pilot thing either. I think that's a lot of the specialties that are out there, from mechanics, avionics, everybody. I think it's just they're going to shift over, creating opportunities in their current roles.
But the fact is that this past year, the A&P type mechanic jobs were never demoted or never decreased like the pilot jobs. The airplanes still need maintenance. So hardly anybody was laid off or furloughed in maintenance. So that just means the maintenance is still going to be a huge shortage, just like it was before.
Because to pop those aircraft back into the air, the maintenance records have to be current. As Joe says, those guys did not get furloughed, did not get cut back, because if you might let your car sit for 6 months, but you can't let an airplane sit for 6 weeks as a general rule.
No, that's right. And if you've been following the news, you've seen some of the airliners that have been having engine problems and such because they have been sitting for 6 months, even though they've been starting them up every month. They're not getting the needed exercise.
No, they're not getting time at temperature, which is what an aircraft engine has to have.
Yeah, they're having some problems, especially with the MAX airplanes. Is that what you had in mind, Pete?
Yeah, you just and keep sending me those emails. So I get emails from Michael and Joe a lot, just like, hey, here's what's happening. Ceci does the same thing. Keep sending that stuff, because the more I know, the more everybody else knows, because we share them on our website or in our spoken word. And so the more I receive,
right,
the more you guys send me, the better off we'll be.
Did you read the latest one from United that I sent you?
Yeah.
I think that was the one that mentioned they're having an intern program. And they were paying people this summer to go to work for them as an intern. Was it $14.70 or something? So United Airlines has an opening right now for this summer for interns.
And they may not be the only ones.
And that's right. They're
Mm.
going to be starting.
So who's gonna take over my job when I take that one?
That'll be a pay increase, right? From nothing to $14.
Shoot. So I try to post all that. In fact, Joe, you just posted something. Somebody had a deadline of June 1 to submit. I just posted that. The Professional Aviation Maintenance Association has a new scholarship, which has also been a new addition. We really weren't focused on scholarships, and then Ceci came into our lives and got us to think more about scholarships. And now we have a web page, and we're connected to hers, and there are so many scholarships out there. Between our two pages, I think we hit every one. So if you're young and you're looking for scholarships, the panel one I just added is actually for somebody who has more experience. But there are a ton of scholarships. So Nick, Andrew, you guys, Catherine, take a look at all those scholarships because there's money to be taken.
Yes. And for those of you who want to move to Reno, who don't live in Reno, the two flight schools here are going to be hiring big time in the next few months. You're going to
That's
need.
why I moved out.
Reno's nice, but there are other parts of the country that I'm sure those flight schools they're adding to. So
Probably the same everywhere.
yeah. I think Joe's
Yeah.
on our relocation committee.
Yeah, just real quick, Pete, I dropped a note in the chat. So I got 2 CFIs that I'm working with right now on my commercial, and both of them have told me, look, man, you gotta finish it up soon because I'm going to be out of here in just a bit. They're already starting to get tapped on the shoulders by, folks that they had resumes in the past, right? So various regionals are now reaching out to them. Basically, the regionals, from what I understand, Joe, I mean, you probably know this. Well, you definitely know this better than I do. I don't know if you can speak to this or not, but my understanding is basically the regionals are going back through first the folks that they furloughed, right? Pulling those people back in. And then they're basically going to go back through the resume pool that they have. And that's where these 2 CFIs have, their info in. And, both of these guys expect to be, within a number of months, small single digits number of months, they expect to be gone. So from a hiring standpoint, for me, right, if I can get my commercial, when I get my commercial and my CFI later this year, it looks like, from a part-time CFI perspective, it's going to be a fairly good market, certainly better than it was, 6 months ago.
Yes, it will be. A friend of mine who I helped get his airline job 3 years ago was a co-pilot for PSA, flying the Embraer 140 something. I don't know what he flies.
145.
But he worked his way up to captain, and then the COVID hit, and he was demoted to co-pilot back again. And in January, so that was what, 3-4 months ago, he got his call to go back to school to get requalified as captain. That was January. February, he started flying as captain, and they had already recalled every of the co-pilots to come back. So right now, they are back at full capacity. And that's one commuter that I know intimately. So I'm guessing the others are pretty much the same. And that means that if they've got all the people back, now they're going to start hiring off the street because people are still retiring. You still got guys turning 65 and they can't fly anymore. So that's not going to change.
And if we need more pilots, we need CFIs to train them. So that's critical to get CFIs. One of my friends just today got her CFI. She got her instrument rating, I think 2 months ago or less, and she just moved right up. And another friend, well, she's a corporate pilot. She started out as a flight attendant, and last year she got her citation type rating, and just this year she got her Gulfstream 550 type rating. And she has jobs already. And but we need CFIs. I have 4 friends in the line for their CFI. So I keep encouraging them. Well, I want them to come here so they can work on their goals and their resumes and their letters and their elevator pitches, because once they become a CFI, they aren't going to have any trouble getting a job. And if they want the airlines, they're going to get there. So they have to prepare themselves. But we need CFIs.
Yeah, and I also think it'd be an exciting time, and I'm looking at Andrew, like it could be an exciting time to be in operations, to manage all this stuff and have to work and find new hires. I think that would be just, I would eat that up. And so I think from an operations perspective, even air traffic control, now they're busier than ever. And so I think it would be an exciting time to get into those fields as well, because of the opportunities now that lie ahead.
It seems these are the people we want as guest speakers, Pete. Bring
For
the
sure.
ops people in, bring the tower people in, and let them, do their thing, because I think a lot of the folk out there have no idea what these jobs entail and the amount of money and the amount of time that's involved.
Yeah, great point. And I'm always looking for speakers or representatives who have internship programs underway, even if they're not filling them right now, but they will in the future, so they can tap into our candidates now and get those balls rolling. But yeah, I'm hearing the bring in more industry leaders message like loud and clear. So
And part of the training, I would like to hear somebody from ATP and other fast track companies who train pilots, because often I get questions or I read questions. What's best for training? Do I go fast track or through general aviation? And what are the opportunities and challenges like we talked about before? But I've heard good and bad things about the fast track. So I think it would be interesting to know. I don't know, Pete, if you had any experience with that or not.
well, yeah. Well, wasn't it like 3 or 4 weeks ago we brought in a couple of our candidates, and Kale was one of them from where's he at? Bakersfield, Sacramento, and he's with ATP. And Catherine's like, oh my gosh, you're already through. You have, how'd you do that? And I have more hours than you. So yeah, it'd be interesting to bring those individuals on to talk about how they do it and the pros and the cons and all that.
The pros and cons.
I could
One thing does
probably,
emphasize the pros and the cons, because fast track I've seen people who I wouldn't fly with who've gone through fast track.
Mhm.
I don't feel safe with them because of they don't necessarily get the discipline that they need. So it's not for everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, what are the pros and cons? And yeah, that would be really important to get some feedback on the long-term effect.
These are great points. Andrew, were you gonna say something?
kind of with that fast track thing, one of my friends who graduated from high school before I started, but I met up with him after because he was in band. I believe, I don't know his title, but I've interviewed him and job shadowed him. He's like I'm gonna butcher his title, but like basically like education's operation director or something at like Lift Academy, Republic Airways like pilot training program. So I could probably see in a few months. I know he's busy right now because he's also a community college instructor, so he's working like 70+ hour weeks. I don't know how he does it, but he's doing it.
You just do.
Yeah, and then I also have someone, ironically all of these connections are coming through music. But my summer youth orchestra director's dad has been in the FAA for 30 years and apparently has been the reason I've been trying to talk to him, but he's like, yeah, sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm doing stuff with the DOD and they don't let me talk to people. And I was like, okay, just let me know when you can talk because I'd love to know more.
These are great connections. So keep finding those connections too.
Yeah.
And connections to them as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Pete, I would
This is
also
exactly
say-
what I wanted to talk about. So thank you. Go for it, Casper.
I know all the pilots generally get all the glamour, and I think rightly so, but also have some ground crew and mechanics and, you know, some of those guys on here. I don't know if anyone on the call now is trying to be in that position, but I think that's a great industry, right? It was mentioned earlier that none of them got laid off during the pandemic. So just, yeah, everyone from across the aviation and aeronautical spectrum in all parts of the industry, I feel like guest speakers from all of those areas would be really interesting.
Yeah, I've had thoughts of making like the first week of the month a specialty, the second week, you know, piloting, mechanics, whatever. Or do we just throw people in because they're available? One of my concerns is, let's say we bring somebody from ground, Casper, will our candidates who want to become pilots, will they just skip out on that week's session? You know, and so that's a concern that floats through my head. So how do we keep it, not maybe how do we keep it attractive, but I had to find ways to keep it attractive when we bring in specialties that not everybody is targeting.
Possibly you look at aviation is a very broad umbrella, very large umbrella. And there are multiple different career paths to go in. And I think from that approach, that it's just like, hey guys, did you know that you can go do this and this and this? Because everybody, I talked to one of the kids I interviewed today. He doesn't want to fly so much. He wants to run an FBO. So there are people out there who are not just want to be pilots. They want to be in aviation, but not necessarily as a pilot. He likes to fly recreationally, but he's more interested in making sure the airplanes are properly taken care of. He spent some time at Signature Flight Service, which I did way back in one of my incarnations. So, I mean, you know, there isn't enough education about the various careers. I sat down one time with the Los Angeles Times and went through the want ads just to see how many jobs had some connection to aviation. There were hundreds.
Pete, can you incorporate that somehow, or maybe it already is, in the career symposium? I don't know how that's run, but I think that could be a perfect venue to address some of the things that we're talking about.
For sure, and we'll see that with the Career Week coming up next month. We'll see that with there. We're going to bring in some people. One of our board members just brought in somebody who's a major leader with American Airlines. And so, yeah, we're gonna see some fun from that perspective, and that'll be a show, Andrew, that I'll expect you to be on because I want to make a connection for you. But yeah, I know I want to spice things up. I know we need to spice up our workshops because I want more value out of it for me. And so, but I'm always looking for your advice. This is why we host these special workshops so we can grow as an organization. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, Ceci, I'm just always looking for ways to make this better.
If you want to spice it up, I have experience on the ramp and flight school, and I have good dad jokes. So if you want to keep people coming back, I can make it entertaining.
So what are you saying, Catherine? Like we take like 5 minutes for bad jokes every week? And you're
Or
our
maybe
host?
like a funny story. Yeah.
I like it. And here to present bad joke of the week. I like it. Okay.
Bad joke of the week.
Or, you know, what have you heard that's weird or seen? We could have special things like that for sure. Just to make it fun. Because again, you know, our whole thing is career readiness. And if we can educate about the different specialties in the industry and the career readiness, the different topics of which I think we've identified 18 different topics, then we're providing some real value. And that's what we want to accomplish. And I think what's going to happen with our next series of workshops is we're going to split them in half, where half the time we're going to talk about the topic. We'll still do the video in advance, and then we'll have a guest speaker. And we'll do that for a series and maybe tweak that up. But I think that's going to provide some real value. What I haven't determined yet, and Joni's probably going to have another game-changing idea, is if we record those workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't, because we're getting real video heavy. So I haven't determined, and not everybody's watching the videos, the recaps. So I have to determine, or we have to determine as a group, is there value with the recorded version? So
You get value after the fact as well. Meaning, if you can produce it in such a way that you can take the recorded segment feed and put it out on YouTube, right, or other venues, then basically you get repeated value, right, and you can get your name out there a little bit more, and you maybe get some more press, et cetera, et cetera. Just very quickly to kind of tie in with what you just said. many of the formats that I've seen that work out really well from an interview standpoint, right, that get recorded and get thrown out onto the web, are kind of a moderated question and answer process, meaning it wouldn't be a bunch of, like we see right now with all of us kind of, asking questions in real time of someone, but pumping the questions into a moderator that is then sort of channeling those and asking those in a controlled fashion, right, of the person being interviewed. That I've seen a number of those, like UND does seminars like that all the time, right? University of North Dakota. And I really get a lot of value out of the interviews that they do.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's great feedback. So thank you. Okay. Points well taken.
Pete, I wanted to say something to all the job seekers and the students that we've had over the year, and that is that I congratulate you for being on the calls. For one, you're taking an hour out of your week, and you're constantly being on the calls, listening, learning something, hopefully to get your career going, but also the level of the people that we have. I've heard some really good, some intelligent, probing questions. And the fact that you're learning something from this is what keeps us, Pete and I and all the other mentors going. So we do like to hear questions and what's going on, and there's no silly questions, there's no dumb questions. So if you have anything, feel free to come, bring it up and talk to us, or online or afterwards, or send Pete an email, because this is why we're here. And I wanted to thank Pete for a whole year of doing this, and doing a great job at it too.
No, great points, and I appreciate the kindness. I know we're getting requests to do more live workshops. I just don't know if we're going to go there yet. But we have an idea. It's in motion right now. But these online, the weekly workshops have been great. And what's come out of them are calls that I get from parents, from teachers, from you guys. I'm doing a ton of Zoom calls every week, just like one-on-one mentoring. That's huge. That just shows me that we hit on something real. Every business needs a niche. We're a nonprofit. I think we hit on something special that is going to definitely impact the industry. And we are just now scratching the surface. I mean, Jacob and his magazine and the outreach we're going to generate from there, our involvement with different industry associations, the leaders we bring into our career weeks, and now our future workshops. The word's getting out that we're doing something special. And so it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And as Joe mentioned, it's great to see everybody on the show. I suspect that these numbers will start to increase more. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, with greater attendance at our workshops, because we like to keep it intimate. But it's amazing. It's just been an amazing year. And I can only imagine what the next 12 months will be like.
Pete had an interesting comment about a moderated interview, if that's the word I'm looking for. There is a reluctance. This goes back to the communication thing last week. There's a reluctance on many of our members to voice questions for whatever reason. So if we know we're having a guest speaker and we have a moderator, why not ask the people in the background, hey, send us your questions, we'll ask them for you. Some of us just don't like to say something out loud for whatever reason. We can circumvent that, because I think the idea of having a moderator with our guest speakers might be something really cool.
All right. So, Michael, let me ask you this. Who's moderating?
Are you asking me to volunteer? Be careful.
Do we mix it up? Do we have each one of us on this call right now step up to be a moderator, or is it me?
No, you have, like Pete, like he said, like Michael says, Michael, Joe, myself, Stacey, we're all capable of being moderators. Most of us have done it before. There's no reason you have to do it all.
I love it. I love it. Okay.
I think
I
that's
mean,
the
I'll do it.
approach.
I mean, I've had to answer questions for a panel before. I don't see why I can't ask them.
See, I think it would be fun, and I love our mentors, but I think it'd be fun if the candidates. moderate,
Awesome. Good
Right?
experience.
It's great experience and they get an immediate connection. So if we bring on the director of flights for American Airlines, Andrew's moderating. Now, we might pump him full of questions to ask so that he's not completely taken off guard. But how cool would that be? Now he's got a direct connection with a role that he might aspire to fill. That could be pretty cool. Now, I'll still do the first part. I'll moderate the topic. But the second part, we bring in a relief pitcher, and that's the moderator.
It's not have done it before. Why not?
Heck yeah.
That's how
Game.
I got hooked up with Dubuque, because I was a moderator at one of the discussions.
Well, that's how you did the scholarships. You had questions for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, anybody could do that. Like you say, any of the mentors or candidates here could just ask those questions and listen to the people, moderate the time and summarize if they want, or ask more questions.
Yeah, okay. This is fun. All right, cool.
That'd free you
All right.
up.
I'm sorry?
That
It'll free
if
me up?
you share the role of being a moderator, that
Oh,
frees you up to do more fantastic things, to continue on with your future.
Well, I guess, but what's the word Marlos is going to mention? Sustainability. We can't rely on one person. So I think
Mhm.
this is amazing. I love the idea. So cool.
Spread the wealth.
So all of you can expect to be invited to moderate. And I think what will happen is we will forecast schedule all of our workshops in advance, or at least 5 at a time, with an identified moderator for each. So that, like, let's pick on Andrew. If he's moderating that one certain panel, he can do research on the individual and that person's company in advance. And maybe there's a pre-meeting between the 2 or 3 of us so they can map out the strategy and really develop strong relationships that way. There might be something fun with that. So, all right, cool. Well, I mean, we're at the top of the hour, and we're all leading busy 70-hour lives. So I want to thank you guys. I think I gained more from today's workshop than you. So I really appreciate the opportunity for me to learn. And because this Pathways to Aviation bit, it's all from the heart. And so some from the brain, but mostly from the heart. So the more we can provide and be a greater resource and value to you guys and the industry, then we're doing something right. So I appreciate it. Next week's workshop, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Aviation Career Week coming up, some of the players who are going to participate, things like that. So be looking forward to that. And the follow-up workshops before the Career Week we'll kind of focus on presence during the Career Week. So perfect. Thank you guys very much. Unless there's anything, then I'm just going to ask Joe just to be Eric for 3 seconds.
I can do that. Thanks everyone again for another great week and meeting. We'll see you next week after 3, 2, 1. Bye.